Hello guys, my name is Bolaji and you are watching Regi School of Fashion channel. On this platform, I'll be dishing out well-detailed and informative videos on all aspects that has to do with male and female outfits. And in this series, I'll be showing you how to draft and construct a male native trousers, popularly called Sokoto. Don't forget to click on the red button below to subscribe. It's free. Absolutely free to subscribe, and also turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any tutorial from this channel. If you find this video helpful in any way, give it a thumbs up. So guys, let's go straight into the video, shall we? These are the measurements needed when drafting a native trousers. The first one is the waist circumference, the thigh circumference, the knee circumference, the ankle circumference, the crotch depth for back and front, the knee length, and the trouser length. So in this tutorial, I'll be making use of the following measurements. The waist circumference I'll be using is 32 inches. Then for the thigh circumference is 25 inches. The knee circumference is 17 inches. The ankle circumference is 13 inches. Then the total crotch depth for the front and back is 25 inches. For the front, I'll be making use of 12 inches. And for the back, I'll be making use of 13 inches, which means the front crotch is lesser than the back crotch. The back crotch is longer than that of the front. And for the knee length, I'll be making use of 21 inches. The trouser length, the full trouser length is 39 inches from the waist to the ankle. So after you might have gotten all these values, the next step is to do a little calculation. So for the waist circumference, I will divide the 32 inches by 4. The thigh will be divided by 2. The knee circumference will be divided by 2. The ankle circumference will be divided by 2, which means the only value will be divided by 4 is that of the waist circumference. So the crotch depth, the knee length, and trouser length need no division because they are taken in vertical form. So my thigh circumference is 12.5 inches. The knee circumference is 8.5 divided by 2. The ankle 6.5. And this is 8. 32 divided by 4 is 8. So for the waist circumference, I'll be adding some amount of ease. So the amount of ease you'll be adding is determined by how fit you want your trousers to be. So before now, they used to make a very big trousers for native wear, but nowadays it has been adjusted to be a fitted one. So the way you want your trousers to fit will be determined by the amount of ease you will be adding. So for me, I will be adding 1.5 inches. This 1.5 inches is not added to the total circumference of the waist measurement, but is added to 1/4 of the waist circumference, which means the total ease I'll be adding to the waist circumference is 1.5 multiplied by 4, which is 6. So for native trousers, if you are making use of waist 32 inches, the total measurement you'll be using for the waist is not going to be the exact measurement you took, but we'll be adding 6 inches starting from 4. You can use 4, you can use 6, and you can use 8. This is determined by how fit you want your trousers to be, but for me, I made use of 6 inches. So if I divide 6 inches by 4, it gives me 1.5. So that is why I added 1.5 to 8 inches. This 8 inches is 1/4 of the total waist circumference I took. So which means for the waist circumference, I will be making use of this 8 plus 1.5 is altogether makes 9.5 inches. So the amount of ease I'm adding to 1/4 of my waist circumference is 1.5 inches. The essence of adding the ease is to allow the trousers to be put on and off easily, because a native trousers will not have a zipper like the English trousers. So if this ease is not added and you use the exact waist circumference measurements you took, it will be difficult to put on and off the trousers. So for you not to encounter such an issue, so it is advisable to add an ease, which will be used to gather the elastic or the rope you use in tying the trousers after constructing it. So I'll be using this side of my pattern paper as the center. The center is where the crotch will be. So I will label this side as the center. So this is the center front. I will be using this pattern for the front panel. So the first step is to decide the amount of the pattern paper I'll be using in drafting the front panel. So the value I'll be using is the largest value I have in the circumference measurements, which are the waist circumference, the thigh, the knee, the ankle. So out of all these 4 circumference measurements, the largest value I have after division, this is 9.5, this is 12.5. So the largest I have is for the thigh, which is 12.5 inches. So I'll be using the largest value to determine the amount of the pattern paper I'll be using. So I'll be marking out 13.5 inches from the beginning of the pattern paper up to the end. Now I will turn the dotted lines into a straight line. So after drawing out the amount of paper I'll be using for the front panel, which is from this center front, don't forget this is our center front, and this is the guideline. This is the amount of the space I will be using in drafting out the front panel for the trousers, the center front and the guideline. So the next step is to insert all my vertical measurements. The vertical measurements are the measurements that has no division, like the crotch depth, the knee length and the foot trouser length. Remember, we did not divide all these measurements. So these are the measurements I'll be inserting in the vertical form. Now the first measurement I'll be taking in the vertical form is the crotch depth. But before marking out the crotch depth, I will measure out 2 inches. Look at it. I lay the tip of my tape measure on the edge of the pattern paper, and I will mark out 2 inches. Then on the other edge, I marked out 2 inches and turn it into a straight line. So the purpose of these 2 inches, let me cut it out for you to understand. In the native trousers, on the waistline, we'll be inserting an elastic rope. So I will be making use of these 2 inches to house the elastic rope. So after constructing the trousers, I will have to fold in the 2 inches in this manner. Then fold it in once more. So you can see what I have left is 1 inches. I fold it twice. So these 2 inches will be used to house the elastic rope. So I will have to subtract these 2 inches from my vertical measurement so that I will not have a shortage of 2 inches after constructing the trousers. So that is the purpose of these 2 inches. So all the vertical measurements will be taken from this edge. But if you know you can cope by taking it this way, you can just leave it. Then start taking all the vertical measurements on this line, on this 2 inches line. So I will start taking all the vertical measurements from this edge. This edge is the waistline. So I will label it as waistline. So the first vertical measurement I will mark out is the crotch depth. The crotch depth for the front panel is 12 inches. So I'll mark out 12 inches, followed by the knee length. The knee length is 21 inches. Then I will extend it into a straight line. So after marking out the crotch depth and the knee length, so I will mark out the full trouser length. My full trouser length is 39 inches. So from that 39 inches, I will add 2.5 inches. So these 2.5 inches is to hem the lower parts of the trousers. So this is the only allowance that will be added to the front panel. Every other same allowance will be added to the back panel. So this is for the waistline. The edge of the paper is the waistline, and this is the crotch depth, the knee length, the full trouser length, and the hemming allowance. So after inserting all the vertical measurements, the next step is to insert all the horizontal measurements. But before inserting the horizontal measurements, I will have to work on the other side of the pattern paper. Remember, this is the center of the pattern paper, and this is the other side of the pattern paper. So from the other side of the pattern paper, which is the line I ruled when we started drafting, so I will come in by 1/2 inch. This 1/2 inch is to shape the waist area up to the crotch depth of the trousers, because the trousers is not supposed to be straight on the other side. It's supposed to be a little bit curved, though it's not as curvy as that of woman trousers, but for the man also, it's not supposed to be on a straight line. So I'll be making use of the pan curve to achieve the curve. So after shaping the waistline, the next step is to insert the horizontal measurements. So I will start with the waist measurement. So in inserting the waist measurement, I will not start on the line which I drew when I started drafting. I will start on the 1/2 inch which I measured inward. So that is where I will lay the tape of my tape measure and measure out 9.5 inches, which is 1/4 of my waist circumference, but plus 1/2 inch for his. So this is the 9.5 inches point. Then I will extend the line downwards to the crotch depth. So make sure you have a straight line when you are drawing yours. So after inserting the waist measurements, the next step is to insert 1/2 of the thigh measurements on the crotch depth. So on the crotch depth line, I will insert 12.5 inches. So this 12.5 inches point is 1/2 of the thigh circumference. My thigh circumference is 25 inches. So 1/2 of thigh circumference is 12.5 inches. And this is the point. So after marking out 1/2 of the thigh circumference measurement, then I will measure the distance between this point and this point. So what I have here is 2.5 inches. So I'll measure that 2.5 inches on the waistline, the line that comes from the waist point to the crotch depth. So I will measure the 2.5 inches upward. Then I'll connect these 2 points together. So this curve is going to serve as the crotch curve. So after drawing out the crotch curve, the next step is to insert the remaining horizontal measurement. So in inserting the remaining horizontal measurement, we will have to divide the crotch line into 2. So I will take measurement from this point to this point and divide it into 2. So what I have is 6.25. So I will measure 6.25 downward up to the end of the pattern paper. Then I will turn the dotted lines into a straight line. So after dividing the crotch line into two, as you can see, the shape of the trousers is now coming out. So I will insert half of the knee circumference on the knee length line, also that of the ankle on the trouser length line. So the knee circumference I'm working with is 17 inches. 17 divided by 2 gives me 8.5 inches. So on my measuring tape, I will locate 8.5 inches and fold it into 2. Then I will place the folded side on the center line which I drew out before. And the folded side is 4.25 inches. So I will mark at the edge of the measuring tape and also mark 8.5 inches on the other side of the line. So after marking out the horizontal measurements on the knee length line, then I will proceed and repeat the same process on the trouser length line. So on the trouser length line, I will insert half of the ankle circumference. The ankle circumference measurement I'm working with is 13 inches. 13 divided by 2 gives me 6.5 inches. So on the 6.5 inches on my measuring tape, I will fold it into 2. I'm folding into 2 because this line has been divided into 2. The measurement on the crotch depth has been divided into 2. So that is why I'm folding my measuring tape into 2 this way. Then I will lay the folded side on the center line. Then mark on the edge of the measuring tape, also on 6.5 inches, which is half of the ankle circumference measurement. After marking out all the horizontal measurements on the pattern paper, the next step is to connect the dotted lines together, which will bring out the shape of the trousers. So I will start from the upper part. I will connect this point, the crotch point, to the knee point using the pant curve ruler. So I will place my curve ruler this way. But if you are not sure of how to place your ruler, make use of a straight ruler. Connect with a straight ruler. This way, they measure out the value of the straight line. What I have here is 9 inches and 2.5. That's 2.5 inches. Divide it into 2. Mark out the center. Then on the center line, come in by half an inch. So this is the half an inch point. So this will guide you on how to place the pant curve ruler. So which means we are connecting this point, point 1, this point, point 2, and this point, point 3 together using the curve ruler. So after connecting, this is what we have. Then on the other side, also, I will be making use of the pant curve ruler. So when placing your pant curve ruler, you place the curve ruler in such a way it will align with the line coming down from the waistline. So this is what we have after drawing it out. So the next step is to connect the knee point to the trouser point, which is the ankle. So in connecting that, I will be making use of a straight ruler, making sure the 2 points connect. So I'm connecting the knee point, the point here, and that of the ankle together. The same thing on the other side. This is the ankle line. This is where the trouser length stops. This line is to hem the lower part. And from the ankle point, the line goes upward up to the knee length. This is the knee. You can see the knee goes in a little where we shaped it in. Then from the knee point, it comes upward up to the crotch line. Then from the crotch line, we have a curve for the crotch. Then from the crotch point also, the line comes upward up to the waistline. Then the same thing on the other side. From the waist point on the other side where we shaped in, it goes downward with slight curve up to the crotch point. Then from here also with a slight curve. Then from the knee point here, we go downwards with a straight line. As you can see, the shape really comes out well. It looks exactly like the shape of the trousers, and the pattern you are looking at is for a fitted native trousers known as Sokoto and not the conventional one. Once I'm done with the construction of the male native trousers, the last step is to cut out the pattern. So this is how I will be cutting out the pattern. I will start from the waistline. Remember, we folded in 2 inches, which we will be using housing the elastic group. So it will be on fold. I will start cutting from the waistline. So once I get to the 2 inches we folded in, I will stop. Then cut on the other side as well. Then I will bring this out. So I'm folding in the hem allowance. This is the lower part. And I will stop on the 2.5 inches point, then cut the other side as well. So I'll bring out the allowance and I'll proceed in cutting off all the shaded parts. Thank you guys for watching this video. If this video has been helpful to you, remember to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. If you have a question, kindly drop it at the comment section. Hope to see you guys in my next video where I will be drafting the back panel and also the pocket sack for the male native trousers. Thank you once again. Bye bye.